just tell me your name?
Eric Fahrenhold.
Okay, and how did you get involved with Occupy?
Got involved with Occupy the day before September 16th, I guess, before New York ever really happened. I heard about it from a friend and then paid attention, live stream. I had to, because you couldn't see anywhere else on TV. I had been feeling deep down anger, passion for the past 3 years coming out after '08 and the whole presidency run, towards the media itself. How many different sources I had to go through to read between the lines to get facts as far as things that were going on in Syria, Egypt. I mean, on a daily basis, people were just being picked off by snipers, and you had to really dig and read and find that information. So I was already kind of there. And then seeing 2,000 to 5,000 people, whichever numbers you want to go by, in New York, on that first day, and live streaming, and then flipping back and forth to see what I could find on TV. That was one day, and then 2 days, and 3, and then 5. And here I am. I'm sucked into something that has such a powerful message. That's very easy to understand. The tie between the money on Wall Street and our government is absolutely out there absurd. And it wasn't something that I latched onto watching this. It was just the fact that people were speaking out against it, and where they started, and the fact they weren't allowed to even walk on Wall Street was rather sickening, and it still is. So following it, I'm sitting there going, do I quit my job? Do I go to New York? I mean, how big is this going to blow up, and how quick? And slowly I realized that it was how long this was going to take, and how beautiful of a thing it was. Just the awareness factor. And not necessarily that we're not tearing down anything.
Where did that slight shift awareness develop for you, as far as the durability of the movement?
The durability, when it did pop into the media, and they did start doing completely against it. When I saw that backlash from whether it be Fox or even your CNN or MSNBC, that when I saw some of the most liberal people on television even kind of attacking it, I knew that was feeding the fire. And it fed mine, and I knew in a city like New York it was only going to grow. And then when you see 700 people, thousands and thousands, shut down a bridge, I knew it was only going to spread. And the different cities started popping up in the dates, and to be honest, I didn't see anything about San Antonio. I was ready to go to Austin every weekend. I went to the first General Assembly in Austin with 400 people. I participated, I spoke, and I have this deep down passion towards the things that this movement is talking about. That tie, and not to mention the fact that with what the media was doing, the government was also sitting on their hands in July and August. I mean, that was a slap in the face to me. To be downgraded like that over the possibility that we can't raise a few taxes here. And no, I'm not saying tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich, but I think a little reform could have happened to compromise in that situation. And knowing that can't really happen, and that's not a possibility, and the reason why it's a possibility, and without getting too political, but with people like Grover Norquist and that actually happening, with a whole political party not being able to vote one way and use their own mind, that's obviously not the voice of the people. And the 99 to the 1%, that is what it is. It's being used a lot by people who might not necessarily grasp it. They just want the camaraderie. But those are the numbers. It's probably more like 0.05%, which if you want to be real, I'm okay with that. But that tie has to stop. Election reform has to happen, and it has to happen from a ground level. And if the cool thing about this movement is if it's not going to be done with money, which I think a lot of people are coming to that realization that we're not going to see this political reform for this next election. That's also kind of where that turned. I knew that it was going to grow in different cities, and I knew events were going to happen in San Francisco, San Diego. I mean, some of the more progressive places in the United States. The recent beings in Oakland, the attacks out, veterans, everybody in this country has been affected. It's just a matter of time before they realize it. And why I'm here in San Antonio and why I stay and come out is basically for my own mental health. To be able to sit and speak with gentlemen such as yourself about these things, about how they feel, about where they came from, about what drove them to be out here, I think that's really good and healthy for all of us. And not to go out and to preach to anybody, but to spread the awareness and to be able to have this conversation. I'm not trying to flip you into Christianity. I'm not trying to flip you into being a Mormon. It's not like that. The more people that tell me they're Republican and they're not interested, the more they become interested within 2 minutes. And not because I'm pushing anything on them. I'd rather ask questions and see how they feel about it. And then by the end of the conversation, it's always, well, what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do? Why try and change it? That's a horrible mentality to take. And when they ask me what I'm going to do about it, I say I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to have that conversation where you're in a bar and people tell you can't talk politics. That's got to go. And the only reason you're not supposed to is because it builds into an argument. So if I don't address myself as a liberal or a Democrat, or I'll go disguised as a Republican, just ask questions and bring it out of people. Because deep down inside, that's how people feel.
What does that translate into, or how does that affect the future of Occupy San Antonio?
Occupy San Antonio is going to be a little different. Be very honest, San Antonio is not very effective. People talk about police pensions. Our police officers are fine. Our economy's doing great. Our unemployment's not that bad. No, we have, our neighborhoods here and there, but I've heard people call them the poorest neighborhoods in the United States. That's not true. San Antonio is also very, very spread out. Definitely not centralized. This park we're in right now that we're occupying, a lot of people in the city have never been to, and they've lived here for years. I've lived here for 3 years, never been to Hemisphere. So the spreading of the awareness is going to be more conversational. It's going to take a lot more time in San Antonio. Even your students here, went here in UTSA. They're locals. It's kind of like U of H in Houston. A lot of those kids are from around Houston. They know what their parents knew, and that, of course, goes for a lot of generations. And you just can't come across as trying to tear at anybody. You want to be out and have this conversation. That's where I come from, and I have no problem having it. I have close friends who have called me retarded for hanging out in a park with homeless hippies. Their intentions and their reasons behind being there are so much more powerful than labeling someone. And to hear them speak, whether or not they expand my mind or not, is you've got to take that all in. And what they've been able to do here and participate and be fed and work together, and some of these guys were drinking on a daily basis, and they don't allow alcohol here. They don't allow drunks here. San Antonio's done very well with their Occupy. I know certain other Occupies have those problems, but these guys do come out here and they work and they better and they sweat, and I think it's absolutely awesome. And the community here that is kind of on the side is open. They don't come out and sit in this park. They'll walk by and thank you for being out here. Donate. We have local businesses that are definitely working that we recognize. They pass out flyers and whatnot. But it's a lot slower here, and this is more of a political atmosphere as far as the awareness and the growth goes. Not as much as making a statement with 50,000 people like New York does on a weekly basis. But that, once again, drives me to know that this isn't going to slow down. And for the first time in a long time, I think that we are being reactive. Let's get real. It's, August, government possible shutdown. We're also 3-4 weeks away from another possible shutdown because all they did was kick the can down the line. And we didn't do anything after 08. So in that sense, we're being reactive. But in the sense that we're a year away from an election, be a little proactive. Having this conversation instead of listening to somebody tell me to go out and vote. What does that do for me? The person next to me still doesn't know what they're doing. They may still not be going out to vote. But for me to have my interests heard, like that person should have theirs, they have to know what's going on. They have to know to do it. They have to care and not think that their vote doesn't matter, like everyone in this country has been bred to believe. But money does talk, and that does punch people right in the gut, and they know that. And this is a hard conversation for people to come out and have, who have been so complacent in the fact that they don't have any control over the outcome. And in the end, a year from now, maybe they don't. But I would like to hope that this just absolutely blows up in a peaceful way. Once again, we're not trying to overthrow anything or tear anything down or burn anything down. But all these people out here and all this conversation going and not slowing down, if they don't get hurt a year from now, if they're still being laughed at a year from now, there has to be some type of change. And I see that being the outcome.
Cool. Thank you.
Sir, most definitely.